Hello, I'm Brigantia, Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Welcome to Divination Demonstration. The spread I'm going to be demonstrating today is called Moving Forward, and I did these cards essentially for the benefit of the group at Blackbird's Brew. We have a lot of ongoing conversations that relate to doing shadow work, healing from past wounds, being able to move forward and to continue to evolve along the lives that we should. And we've all begun to feel a sense of urgency. Not only that now is the time to deal with some things, but also that we, allowing ourselves to be cast down by the past or have, all these psychological hang-ups or anything else that's just bothering us and weighing us down and holding us back, that's going to become a luxury that we can no longer afford. I think all of us understand by now that there are some very challenging times ahead of us for the future, and we need to be as strong and in as good condition, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, as what we possibly can. We don't know what we might have to face. We don't know what kind of challenges we need to overcome. So whatever that might consist of, say the next 5 to 10 years, we can't have a lot of the junk. All the cobwebs and the disorganized cupboard with whatever skeletons that may or may not be tap dancing there. We just can't have that in our brains anymore. We've got to deal with it. So gang, this is all for us today. It's a 4-card spread. It's pretty straightforward. I'm liking shorter spreads more and more. I mean, sometimes, the longer spreads can be fun, but a lot of times, just if you're looking for guidance, looking for direction and some answers, short spreads seem to really get the job done. So let us begin. Our first card represents what is holding us back. And this may strike you as a very odd card to come up in this context, because it is the Green Man. Now, in a traditional tarot, this would be the Fool, but in the Sacred Circle Tarot, which, by the way, this is our last week for that, in the Sacred Circle Tarot, the Green Man is the equivalent to the Fool, because he is that potential, the raw power of nature, untamed energy, wild and fertile force behind all of the natural growth, both in the animal kingdom, in the plant life, and even really within ourselves. But I was looking closer at some of the authors' note about it, and they said that sometimes this card can come up if you are lacking focus, if you're lacking structure, if you're too scattered. So, once I was looking at that, it got me to thinking about all those 3 things, not enough focus, structure, or being scattered-brained. That does hold a person out. That absolutely does hold you back. Because in a way, it kind of paralyzes your energy. You might be this whirling tornado in the middle of all of it, but that tornado isn't going anywhere because all of its energy is dissipating. It's in this little holding pattern, and so you might feel all of this energy and all kinds of willpower and motivation to do something, but because you haven't picked a direction, or because you haven't created some structure for that direction, because you're not honing in on, maybe 1 or 2 things, it is not making use of that energy. So I take this as kind of a good point of counsel. It tells me that most of us do have energy that we need, or that at least we have access to it, or that we have a support system in place that enables us to make use of energy that can allow us to propel us forward. But we need to know what we're wanting to use this energy for, and it's time to start defining terms. And if we tend to be more on the scatterbrained type, don't eschew structure. Structure doesn't have to be a horrible, overscheduled, burdensome thing. Just keep it very simple. Just think, okay, what are the 3 most important things that I need to improve on? Not just that you're interested in, not just that you want to do, but if you've been getting very firm guidance and direction about, what are the 3 big things? Because 3 is a very manageable number. We know what to do with the number 3. We can plan things accordingly. And if you're more like me, and you do tend to be a little bit more rigid, a little bit too structured, then taking a more intuitive, flowy, going with the ambient energy kind of approach. Allow yourself to be drawn to something. You will still be focused. It's not like you have abandoned structure entirely, but you're also not scattering your energies. You do have a sense of what is important. You are allowing yourself to listen to guidance and to flow with that guidance. but it does mean that you're not necessarily giving your attention to all of the rest of the noise around you. So let's move on. The second card represents where our energy is focused, and we have the Lovers for this. The Lovers represents the union of opposites, but also difficult choices, far-reaching consequences, and man, that just seems to sum up everything about life right now. We are all facing difficult choices. We know that there are a lot of things we are deciding are going to have a very concrete effect on what happens to us in just the next few years. And this card does encourage people to have an awareness of our personal responsibility in shaping our own fate. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like we are never influenced by external factors. We are. But we have a responsibility to take hold of ourselves and start making choices, not being reactionary, not being passive, not being followers, but making decisions for ourselves. Not for other people, for ourselves. This card also suggests gaining experience in some fashion, since all of us at the Brew are taking our spirituality very seriously these days, and we're all looking for ways to not just practice more, but we're also looking to have a higher quality of our practice and to be able to get more spiritual benefit out of it. And of course, the only way to do that and to gain that experience is trial and error, listening to people's experiences, and allowing ourselves room to grow. The Lovers can also represent a messenger of higher realms, particularly when those messengers are trying to persuade us of the importance of truth and having pure motives. Now, I think that if our motives are dishonest, we are already self-sabotaging. And I think most people at Blackbird's Brew, I think we're a pretty moral bunch. I think we do our very best to be honest with ourselves, and being honest with ourselves, I mean, that is absolutely an aspect of having pure motives. Because if you can't even be honest with yourself about where you're going and why you're going to go there, how can you manage to be honest with anybody else? And this is also where truth comes in. Truth is not an appreciated thing. Most people, they'll say, oh, truth is important to me. I believe in honesty. I always want to hear the truth. Yeah, watch them when they actually get it. Because it has been my observation that most people, when they say they're looking for truth, what they're really hoping is that someone will continue to tell them what they want to hear, but that they'll be persuasive enough that they'll believe them when they say it. Now with me, if I sense that someone's sparing my feelings, it just makes me absolutely mental. I'm one of those rare creatures that actually does appreciate hearing the truth, whether it's flattering or very unflattering, because then at least I know where I am, and I can work with that. And that's not an easy journey to get to that particular state, but I think it is worthwhile. Just what priority are we placing on truth? That is certainly a legitimate area in which to focus our energy. Now, that's where our energy is focused. Now, the next card represents where our energy needs to be focused. So something we've overlooked possibly, but we need to go in this direction. And for that, we have the Ten of Wands, and it is subtitled Force. And with this card, there's a sense that the opposition is weighing you down, that you are spread too thinly, or that you are feeling overburdened. What with one thing or another, a lot of us at the Brew, we are having that sense. Whether it's the sense of opposition of I could go in several different directions with this. But certainly, there is a clash of worldviews in our society, and those of us at the Brew, we err on the side of freedom, and believing that that is actually the most important thing. And so, dealing with a growing percentage of the population who doesn't value freedom, who wants to tell other people what to do, who or at the very least think that we ought to just follow along with whatever we are told, that is very wearing down on the soul. And with being spread too thinly, I think that goes back to our first card with the Green Man of having energy that is too scattered, too focused, because there are days you feel like you're fighting a war on 1,000 different fronts, and you aren't even sure what to do with one of them. And certainly feeling overburdened, I think from time to time all of us do tend to feel like we are carrying the weight of the entire world on our shoulders. So if our energy needs to be focused here, I think this will also relate to our second card, the Lovers, because with the Lovers, this does also represent that messenger saying, pay attention to what the truth actually is. And one of the things that the truth actually is, and that our energy needs to focus on and accept, is that it is not just up to us. We are not carrying the whole burden of the world, not really, and we can't take that on. People have to make their choices, and they're going to have to live with some of those choices, and we need to be more focused on what choices are we making to better our own situations, whether it's on the material front or mental emotional front or on the spiritual front. If we are doing what we can in the sphere of influence that we have, then in time we might bump into allies who are like-minded, and we might be able to have more of a feeling of strength in numbers. But the idea that we are alone in any of this, that is an illusion. And so I think it is worthwhile doing some meditations and trying to send that energy and that false idea on its way as much as what we possibly can. Now, our last card is what will move us forward, and we have the Page of Cups, which is subtitled Reflection. This particular page is all about dealing with, and not just dealing with, but developing capacities of feeling and intuition, your spiritual development, your spiritual understanding, which is just as important as training yourself up in your abilities, and it's also making peace with the past. And this relates very much to the shadow work that we've all been talking about making sure that we don't have anything hanging off of our necks like a millstone, dragging us down, because we just can't afford it right now. I mean, none of us can, not in any sense of the term. And with the development of feelings and intuition, I think this is also about developing more clear-sighted intuition, of being able to have dealt with our past issues and things that have just kind of bugged us psychologically, and then having clearer vision, more objective vision at the end result. And this, of course, will in turn allow us to develop spiritually and to be of benefit to ourselves and also to our larger community. So, that's it for this week's divination demonstration. A lot to unpack there. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, this is the last week that we're dealing with the Sacred Circle Tarot, which was written by Anna Franklin and illustrated by Paul Mason. Next month, we are going to be moving into my absolute favorite tarot deck of all, so I hope you will join me for that. But for now, bye, and I'll see you in another video.